Well, hey, everybody. I wanted to welcome you to our CP Table podcast, and I'm here today with Brent Coley. Brent is the principal of Alta Murrieta Elementary School and a longtime member of Centerpoint Church. And I just thought that it would be important to, in the middle of all the stuff going on with education and schooling at home and all of this, that it would be great to have some real perspective on the issue of education from someone who is passionate about it and in the middle of it, in the thick of it, and bearing the weight of it. Because a lot of us are just on the outside bystanders or armchair quarterbacks or whatever. And I just thought, Brent, it would be great to sit down and have a conversation with you today about education.
I am honored to be here and chat with you. Thank you for the invitation, John.
Yeah, glad to have you. You know, Brent is a teacher, but also an administrator. He's the principal, as I said, of Alta Murrieta Elementary School, and he's also passionate about helping teachers generally grow. He's just released a book called Edu Influence, 10 Life-Changing Powers to Unleash in Your School. So if you're a teacher and you just are looking for tools to help, take it up a notch or two, this is a great one. And if you haven't met Brent yet, I think you're going to enjoy it because it's all stories. It's all his own stories of how he's found strategies to just make it better in every way possible. So he's also got a podcast called Teaching Tales, and you can go to brentcoley.com, right?
That's it. Yep.
Okay, and then you can find the podcast, the link to Spotify or wherever else on his podcast. But before we get into conversation, I just want to share a scripture with everybody. And it says this in 1 Timothy 2:1. It says, I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. And so, usually you think kings and all those in authority, and we're thinking of just the president or the governor or whatever, but I'm also thinking of a local principal of a school. And I want to just start off by saying thank you, thank you on behalf of all of us who have kids in the school system at large. Mine are no longer in elementary school, but a lot of us who are part of this conversation today, we are. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for being on the front line with our kids for their education. And I'm doing this partly because God's word calls me to it, but also just because a lot of us as parents have discovered real quick how much we need you, how much we need our schools, our educators. And so thank you for being the guy in Alta Murrieta Elementary School who's making it happen and helping lots of other teachers in our district as well.
Well, thank you. That means a lot, and I will tell you that it means a lot to our teachers. So for moms and dads watching right now, one of the great things, the positives that have come out of all of this is our teachers have probably heard that. Thank you for what you're doing more in the last several months. Because, as you said, parents have been thrust into that role. At the drop of a hat, just instantly. You're now, and they're realizing, oh my goodness. I mean, I think it's been a joke for years and years and years of all that teachers do, but people have now seen it firsthand, and our teachers are crushing it. So, but thank you. The encouragement is needed.
Yeah, it is. So. Teachers need encouragement. You've been a teacher. You're a principal now, but what got you into education? Was there some teacher you had that just made such an impression, or did you hear God's voice, or did you have a mentor that say, you ought to be? How did it work for you?
My story of how I became a teacher is not this typical story that many teachers will tell in terms of, I grew up wanting to be a teacher, and I played teacher, and I wanted to be a computer programmer.
Okay.
That's what my dad was worked for a distributor for computers. I had a computer in the house like third, fourth grade, back when nobody had computers in the house.
Apple IIe?
Commodore? No, Commodore, yep. We had those. So I wanted to be a computer programmer. So the short answer, why'd you become a teacher? Because I couldn't do calculus. That's really the short answer of why I became a teacher, because when I got to the junior college and the path I was on, I had to take 4 semesters of calculus before transferring to the 4-year university, and I got a D the first semester, took it over, got a B, took the second semester class, got another D, and realized I don't have time to do this twice. Like this isn't going to work. Yeah. So I remember having a real good heart-to-heart with my dad and my mom, and just made the decision right there. I'd always thought being a teacher, that would be great. I remember having those thoughts, but it was never
the plan,
because I'm going to be a computer programmer.
Right.
So that I so vividly remember sitting in the living room having that conversation, and that completely changed the trajectory of my life. And it's one of the best decisions that I've never regretted it for a second. And now I can do technology stuff. I would do that. I would do a podcast with my students. I could do a website with my students. So I got to combine the best of both worlds. So.
Yeah, it changed your life, but I mean, if you really think about it, it's changed thousands of lives. Every one of the students that you've ever had and the teachers that you lead and coach. And I want to just ask you about that. So you're a principal now. And how long have you been a principal?
This is year 8.
8 years of being a principal. Yeah. What is one of the greatest joys for you in being a principal?
It's the kids. I mean, it's seeing the kids, which is one of the things that is making our current situation so difficult.
Oh yeah,
is they're not there.
Right.
We're in a virtual environment right now, and the campus. I'm working on campus, and our teachers, most of whom they're working out of their classrooms to do their virtual instruction. But it's
a ghost town.
It's spooky quiet.
Oh,
I mean, it's from 8 to 12. I mean, I'm there with tech support and helping out and virtually popping into classrooms and doing that. But there's no recess going on, and hearing the laughs and getting the knee-high hugs from kindergartners and riding the tricycles on the kindergarten playground. I mean. It's just, being a principal of an elementary school, I'll just say it. I mean, you're a rock star, and some of these in 5-year-olds, it's awesome.
And even for some of the parents, the principal's a rock star.
It's and sometimes viewed the other way.
Well, that can happen, I guess.
But yes.
And what is one of the biggest challenges, just generally, even apart from COVID? And we're going to talk about COVID. That's really what we want to talk about. But just generally, what's one of the challenges of being a principal?
It's a great question. I actually wrote a blog post about this several years ago, and it's not what many people would. Oh, is it the discipline problems? Yeah. Is it having to deal with upset parents and stuff like that? The most difficult thing for me, and it has been since I moved into an administrative role, it's feeling helpless.
Oh, wow.
And
as a principal,
when you want so badly to help, whether it's a student, whether it's a teacher, something, but not possessing, whether it's the authority to make that decision, whether it's the resources to provide for that situation, it's hard. Where the current situation right now, where teachers are texting saying, my Zoom's not working.
Oh my gosh.
And it's the Wi-Fi. And so often what is taking place is outside of my control. And I want desperately to make it better. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But so often it's out of our control. I mean, this whole situation we're in right now, it's out of my, I don't have the vaccine. I don't have the cure. I mean,
that's interesting. Just that phrase, it's out of my control. I think as I think about 2020 generally, I mean, it's out of our control seems to be the tagline for all of it. And I think maybe that's one of the hardest things about it all. And maybe some of the reason for so much of the anger that we've all been seeing is just simply that reality that so much is out of our control, and we don't know how to process the pain of that.
Yeah. We have to. I've had conversations with our staff, with our teachers, that, and I think just being very real and like for moms and dads. I mean, the conversations that I've had. So moms and dads, if you're watching this right now, this stinks. Like none of us love what's going on right now. I mean, and when parents, when I've talked with them and they have concerns about something, it's like, I said, I'm not going to insult you and say, what are you talking about? Everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's rainbows and unicorns. I mean, what's your problem? this stinks. And we have to embrace the stink, though.
Wow.
Is kind of what it is right now, and we're gonna make the best of what we have, because we can choose to focus on the negatives, or we can choose to focus on the positive. I have a whiteboard in our staff lounge, and every day I put what I hope to be an inspirational or encouraging quote up there, or a thought. And today the quote is, I said, let's choose to look at the positives. It's going to be 104 degrees today. Okay, so if we were in our normal circumstances, we'd be on an inclement weather schedule, which teachers hate. Okay, because everything gets shortened in their recess, and nobody likes being on an inclement weather schedule. It's going to be 104. Hey, positive, we don't have to go on an inclement weather schedule today. And I said, today's our 33rd day of school, and 2/3 of those days it's been more than 95 degrees, meaning we would have been on an inclement weather schedule 2/3 of the time.
Wow.
But we haven't had to do it once.
Yeah, hashtag bright side.
Exactly. It's like it does stink.
Yeah.
But there are good things that are coming out of this.
So if you are just joining us, we're having a conversation right now with Brent Coley to talk about education in the COVID experience. And Brent is the principal of Alta Murrieta Elementary School, and brings 8 years as a principal and many more years before that as a teacher of expertise and perspective to the table. And I thought it would be so helpful for all of us to hear about that perspective, because many of us have kids or grandkids or friends who are kids that are being educated right now, and it's a different day. So let's rewind the tape a little bit and talk about COVID initially hitting and rewinding back to March, and all of a sudden, I'm guessing teachers and principals probably got a little bit of advance warning, maybe a few days before others, but generally the tidal wave hit, and all of a sudden, school's closed. And how did you initially respond to all of that?
It was hard because we didn't have a whole lot of prior notice that the families did. I think it was March 13th, March 14th, whatever that Friday was. We learned that morning. Wow, that's it. Like they're not coming back on Monday. They're going to be home. We're having to close. Excuse me. So it was. I think the difference then and now is now we pretty much knew, in preparing for this school year, that we're not going to be able to open traditionally. So, but then it was hard. It was really hard because we were having to build that plane in the air, and it was already 30,000 feet. I mean, it hadn't just taken off. 2/3 of the year was already done.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and when we first went to that online experience, what kind of direction as a principal do you give to the teachers in a moment like that?
One of the words that has been at the forefront of my mind and that I've communicated to teachers, but also to families, is grace. I mean, as believers, we live under it. Thank the Lord. Yeah. I mean, so thankful for the grace that we have. But in the situation like with teachers, because I have such an amazing staff. I mean, they're rock stars, and they want to do so much, and they're having to do things they've never done before.
Right.
They've never done before, and we're having to remind them, like, you're gonna make mistakes. Like you don't know. You don't know what you're doing yet in terms of navigating the virtual arena, whether it's a learning management system or a Zoom or something like that. So it's just like, it's okay. Try new things. And now's the time to figure it out. Like basically I wanted to give the teachers permission to fail.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I mean, now's the time. Go for it. I mean, engage your students. Try something that you wouldn't have necessarily tried before. So that's a positive, I think, that's come out of this, is they have tried stuff that they would not have necessarily. They've been forced to.
Right.
So
yeah, the innovation, it was not an option. You had to, right?
Yep.
So back in March, there was no advance warning. It was just, hey, you just got to figure whatever we can figure. But then we did have summer, and you saw the writing on the wall. We're not opening up traditional in-person education. Yeah. So probably a lot of us as parents wouldn't be aware of what was taking place during the summer. But can you give us a little bit of insight? Were teachers just kind of kicking back, taking it easy, just having a great vacation, or were they like busy getting ready? Like, what was going on with teachers in the summer to get ready for this new experience?
I think I'll take this opportunity because there's so many memes out there and stuff like, oh, it must be nice to have a.
So one of the ones I love, it says like teachers this year, log into Clickety Clack and then go over to Zoombity Bop, and then once you get done with Zoombity Bop, create a profile on Cambity Coop and
it's even before this situation. I mean, oh, it must be nice to have a teacher. You have 3 months off and stuff like that. That's not the case.
Okay.
First of all, there's never been 3 months off, and most teachers, I know myself. We got a month, and then they're working, they're planning, they're in their classrooms getting it ready.
This year,
this year, there really wasn't much of a summer. Wow. I know for me personally, it's like while I may have had technically officially time off, we were having meetings to plan for this, and the teachers were doing the same thing. It was the type of thing that. Our district adopted a new learning management system, basically an online platform for the teachers to house all of their asynchronous instruction, all of the resources that they would put up there, and they had to learn that. And they had to learn that very quickly.
And I think a lot of us as parents, we probably underestimate just how arduous that is, just how hard it is to learn a whole, you say, learning management system. And we assume, well, you just turn it on and use it, right?
I'm glad that you said that because, yeah, it is. I'll tell you, like our teachers, they had 4 days.
Wow.
Like on the clock, 4 days to learn a brand new thing. I've said it to many teachers. It's like I have 40 first-year teachers this year.
Wow.
Now, some of those are 25. Some of those are 25-year, 30-year veterans.
Okay.
But everybody, in a sense, is a first-year teacher this year because
they're
all exactly. Yeah, they're everybody's doing something they've never done before. I mean, it's a first-year principal, even though it's really year 8. I've never led through a pandemic before. I missed that class in credentialing.
I missed it in seminary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't. We didn't get that. There's not a chapter in that book of how to lead through a global pandemic. But what I know is the lengths that they have gone to learn something brand new, and I tell you. The level of pride, I've said this so frequently to our parents. I didn't think that the level of pride that I had for my staff could be any greater.
Wow.
Until this happened.
Wow.
I mean, you see that adversity brings out that true character and what we have, and this is really shown. I mean, if there was ever a time to mail it in,
they could have.
If there was ever a time, I mean, nationally for teachers, and unfortunately, I think there probably are some out there. Not in my school, and it just they're not mailing it in. So,
some line from a movie has come into my mind of a football player saying to the coach, "Attitude reflects leadership, sir." I can't remember what movie it is. But anyway, I would say that's probably true of what's going on at Alta Murrieta. That there's a leadership that's been given that has probably set the tone for that, and that's amazing. Tell me this. What kinds of challenges do you feel the teachers are facing? So here we are, we're a month and a half into the school year, or whatever it is, and we're getting into some kind of a groove with it. But what are the challenges that teachers are facing in doing this online only education right now?
Gosh, the thing that just the bare bones of it is technology.
Okay,
and that's one of the things when I was sending out our messages to our families to start, I would say, technology is great
when it works
until it doesn't work, right? I mean, like we love technology. This is fantastic till the Wi-Fi goes down,
right?
And then it's like the world is ending.
What do we do?
So that Zoom is crashing. Canvas, which is our learning management system, is down. And what do? I mean, it's kind of like if you had a blackout in the physical building, you could still take the kids outside. You could still read a book to them. You could still do stuff because I remember it happened to me as a teacher. Yeah. The blackout. I remember once the entire day. Yeah. We could still do stuff.
Yeah.
If Zoom goes down,
you're done.
And Canvas goes down. And that's going back to the helpless part of that, where the phone's blowing up, the Zoom's down. I can't fix that. I wish I could, but I can't.
It's almost like in this kind of a season, what anybody in a kind of profession like a teacher needs is a class and a coaching almost on emotional self-management, because when you've got 30 students and all of their parents are sending you emails and texts saying, where is my class? And it can feel like an attack, I would assume.
And teachers, they have, you just described a typical day.
Wow.
For many, especially at the beginning of the year when so-and-so was having trouble logging in, getting in, and the password's not working, and they're not, those types of things. And again, technology is great with the text messaging features and things like that, the communication that parents and teachers can have. But when the teacher's phone is blowing up because Billy can't get into the Zoom meeting, but teacher's trying to teach, again, it's a balancing act. Yeah. They're doing a great job, but it's taxing.
And let's talk about the students for a moment. So assuming the technology is working, and so it's a good week on Zoom and Canvas and everything else, but nevertheless, there's challenges in this unique season for students as well. What would you say some of the challenges are in the educational process for students in this phase?
I think that this this situation that we're in, I think some people would be like, really? This has re-emphasized for me the importance of relationships. It is all about relationships. It's chapter 2 in the book. I mean, it's like, wow. It's all about relationships. And I think that COVID and being virtual and not being in the classroom, I mean, kids will run through a brick wall for you if they know that you love and care about them.
Wow.
That's just the truth.
And a lot of that happens between the periods or at the end of class, up by the teacher's desk. We don't have that right now. Well, it's a lot harder to cultivate.
If I were to ask you, and we won't go down this rabbit hole, but if I were to say, tell me about your favorite teacher growing up, I can pretty much bet you're not going to tell me about the long division lesson, the fraction. It's going to have nothing to do with academics. Zero to do with academics. It's going to have... They told a joke. They laughed. They encouraged me. They went to my
candy questions. Mr. Kalora, 5th grade, candy questions, and he had the jar and he tossed candy to me and everyone else. But
but see, that exactly my point. That's relationship building, and you wanted to go to his class because not because he was a great in pedagogy, although I'm sure he was.
Maybe.
But the relationship's foundation there, and what we're seeing now is it may be through a computer screen, but you can still build those relationships there. You have to build those relationships here, because to answer your question, the struggles that the students are having, they don't all have the same amount of support, and what this is doing is it's highlighting inequity.
Wow.
I mean, there's been inequity in terms of technology.
Right.
The assumption that, everybody has a computer.
And Wi-Fi.
And Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
They don't. And they may have it, but it may not be good. It may not be stable. And while some families, their home is a very supportive place. It's a place where mom and dad are able to work from home, or they were a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, and they're able to sit next to their kiddo during the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
We have other families where there's 4 kids.
Wow.
4 school-aged kids in a single family, in a single bedroom.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate virtual instruction when with a toddler in the other room.
And a Wi-Fi signal that's going in and out.
And when the teacher's freezing and stuff like that. So, I mean, moms and dads out there, thank you. I just, from the bottom, I recorded a message for my community last night, which we'll release in a day or so. Thank you. It's how I opened it, because we know what you are doing right now. You have been thrust into a position that it's hard. And you're doing the best you can. We're doing the best that we can, and that's That's really what we understand. It's hard, and all you can do is the best that you can do. So,
do you think there are going to be any long-term detrimental, negative impacts in children in their formation or education because of the results, because of what's happened in 2020 in education?
I think that'll remain to be seen in terms of whether there's going to be academic gaps and things like that. I mean, what I can tell you is what I'm seeing now. I mean, when I pop into virtual classrooms, when I pop into Zoom meetings, and what I'm seeing our teachers doing, it's the same stuff I would have seen taking place in the physical brick and mortar building. Now, is that going to say that this is the same, virtual is the same as, because it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But we're making lemonade out of the lemons. We're doing the best that we can. I think, again, I'm going to go back to that relationships, because I think that, especially at the elementary level, it's so much about the connections that we're making with kids. And while we can't give the hugs right now, we can't give the high fives, and we can't look the student like you and I, like right now, eye to eye, but you can do it through the computer monitor. You can do that. And again, I was in a classroom. I was in a physical classroom yesterday, helping out with a tech issue, and was watching one of our amazing kindergarten teachers who was jumping around and doing a movement break, and the kiddo was there, and it just put a huge smile on it. Yeah. It's like our teachers are just doing
all that we can.
I mean, the gap. I mean, are there going to be gaps? I think so, but everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
I mean, so whatever, if we're having to kind of start a little, everyone's starting there. So, I mean.
So, Brent, you and I, over the last 6 or 7 months, have compared notes here and there about our Zoom setups.
Yes. Thank you for the ring light recommendation, by the way. I did purchase that one.
So maybe it's a bit vain, but it's also not vain. It's I notice when someone is setting up their view on their camera in such a way as I can see their face clearly, and that having that light. I'm just curious, as the school system resource teachers to say, hey, we have budget to give you a light or a better webcam if you need it, or is that just also hope you can figure it out? How does that work?
No, great question. The district has been phenomenal with whether it's webcams, putting laptops in the hands of the teacher, so if they're having to work remotely, they have the ability to do that, whether it's Ethernet cables to hardwire, so we have a better connection. So many of our teachers have, I mean, I took pictures one day, I just walked through classrooms, the setups that they have come up on their own. I mean, brought in their own ring lights, brought in their own lamps, just like from their living room. I mean, to do what you just said, to make it look more inviting, more warm, less sterile. The district has been incredibly supportive, but it's what teachers do. Wow. Teachers, I mean, I wish it didn't have to be that way, but teachers spend money out of their own pockets to do what's best for kids. And right now, what's best for kids is making sure they can see their face clearly, and whether that's through a ring light. But district has been really supportive with that.
So I would like to ask you to talk to parents for a moment right now, just directly. And my question would be, what advice would you give to us parents out there as to how to help our kids make the most of this weird moment in education and to succeed? Maybe you might have 2 or 3 tips to say, here's what you can really do to help your kids thrive in their education, even though it's screen schooling.
Sure. I think the first one is come to school. I think that's the big one. And again, fully understanding that some of the stuff that's going on in homes right now, it can make that nearly impossible, and we understand that. At the same time, we want to make sure that our teachers are investing an incredible amount of time to put together rigorous, relevant, and engaging lessons to the best degree we can in the situation that we're in right now. But what we don't want is, and fortunately we don't see it a lot, but every once in a while we don't want parents to think, well, I'll just do the Costco workbook instead, because that's not the same. If schooling was just a workbook, I wouldn't have a job. We would just all go to Costco and buy that workbook. It's so much more relevant. I mean, you can't replace face-to-face, even if it's digital face-to-face instruction. So I think the biggest thing is just show up, like when the Zoom meeting, like be there. The other thing is, I mean, the support. Again, we're so thankful for the amount of support that our parents are able to give the kids. But what I would say is, it's okay for kids to struggle. And as parents, you know that it's something that I know as parents, we tend to, you want to swoop in and help somebody, help your kiddos. But that's not how they learn.
Right.
And we've talked about a growth mindset. Carol Dweck's research on that over the last several years. We're now living it out.
Wow.
I mean, and her research, brain research, it talks about the more you work at something, it actually produces more connections in the brain. Like you can get smarter by working hard. Through struggle comes achievement. So I know sometimes the tendency is to feed the answers sometimes and things like that. And I know our teachers just like, we love the support to make sure that if they're playing with something, let's put the toy down. Let's stay focused right now. But it's okay if they're stuck a little bit and they're having to think about it. That teachers want that. Teachers need that, because if it's all mom or dad, it's not an accurate representation of what the child can do by himself or by herself. So show up. It's okay to let them struggle, and encouragement. I think that's a big thing too. Is just kind of like I said earlier. We want to be at school. I mean, we want the kids at school right now. Kids want to be at school right now. We can't be at school right now. So just that encouragement when they're staying focused. We're trying to do things like that at our school of digital forms that they can send out, which creates a certificate that we can send to the students just saying, hey, Billy, thank you for being on time for your Zoom meeting. Thank you for participating in the group discussion. Moms and dads, those few kind words that you're giving to your kiddo, it matters. It matters. I mean, kids will puff up when they get, she noticed what I did.
That is so helpful to hear, because as a parent, it is just so easy to, I hate to say it, but to kind of check out, to kind of go, well, I hear that they're in their bedroom and I hear the teaching happening. Good, I'm done. But you're saying there's more. Help give those gold stars, so to speak, since the teacher can't do that in person.
And again, fully understanding, you may not be able to be in the room right then because you're doing your own Zoom call for work,
right?
Or you're changing the diaper of the toddler. We get that, but even if it's the type of thing, I mean, my son's a sophomore in high school. And my daughter's a sophomore in college. And just the other day, I remember my wife and I went in and just said, hey, Ben, I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you, buddy. Like we know you'd rather, but your responsibility, you're getting your assignments in on time. And he doesn't love it. I mean, he would rather be with his friends there, but he's doing what he needs to do. And I just think telling our kids that, it's almost like telling somebody you love them. Well, they know I love them. You still need to hear it.
Right.
And 10-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 46-year-olds, 49-year-olds. I mean, I'm 49. I still need to hear it too. So
that's good pastoring right there, Brent Coley.
Thank you very much.
That's good. That's good. I want to talk now about probably a hot button item, but it's the issue of reopening. And I appreciate what you just said a couple minutes ago, which is, we want to be in school. Our kids want to be in school. And you just sort of said it point blank, matter-of-factly, and we can't be in school. So let's talk about that for a moment, because, I mean, here we are, and you and I are sitting almost 6 feet apart because we need to, and you've got the mask ready to go, and I have it over there. But what is going on with the reopening? And here's a question I'd like to know. Who does make the decision about reopening?
I know that our district is county public health. I mean, like, our district is not making decisions independent of of things like that. We have worked through this entire thing, and again, I'm not at the district level in terms of district leadership, but I know that they're waiting. We have always been waiting for, in terms of whether it's a mandate or a restriction, things like that. To the best of my knowledge, districts, I mean, I can speak for my district, and we work very closely with public health.
So county health, state, and then county health, and then gives direction to district, and then district tells principals.
Yes,
kind of the order.
It's if they say you're not opening, we're not opening.
So if somebody had a complaint, said, Brent, Coley, how come you're not opening Alta, Murrieta?
Again, out of my hands. It's the type of thing, and just coming back to safety, and that's something that I know that our district is. We want kids back in school, but we want them to be safe more than anything else. And pre-COVID and everything, I mean, I've always been big on my number one priority. Yeah, we want to give your kids a good education, but they need to be safe.
Yeah,
they need to feel safe when they come on campus. We need to protect the gates. We need to make sure that people aren't coming on campus that shouldn't be on there. So, as far as reopening, I mean, safety is paramount. It's the number one thing that we're looking at.
And you and I don't need to get into the medical and epidemiological discussions that probably go beyond both of our depth a little bit, but just generally speaking, maybe some of us as parents just aren't aware. But what are some of the challenges for teachers and administrators in even if we could just reopen? What would be some of the challenges in that for the teachers?
I think that when the time comes, when the situation improves such that we would be able to reopen, there's going to be changes. And I think that's something that I think you hear a lot. Oh, I can't wait till we get to go back to normal.
Yeah.
And I think at least for the time being, normal is not necessarily what we had on March 13th. Whereas so I think that because I think there's still going to be, and again, these are out of my hands. I mean, we're going to take guidance from county public health and CDC and the state. I mean, it all trickles down to us, but the bottom line is there will still be restrictions, and I'm not going to go into what those are because those may be changing. But I mean, the fact that will that be part? We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's in terms of the physical distancing, 6 feet, and whether it's masks, whether it's those types of that remains to be seen exactly what that's going to look like. But I just think that we need to wrap our heads around. It's what I'm doing as a site leader is reopening it's not just going to be, all right, open the gates and back to normal, because there are still going to be restrictions there, whether that's fewer kids on campus at the same time, and then there's so many logistical.
So what some of us as parents have been hearing or getting emails, and then you kind of hear what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And some email recently said something like, we're going to have some sort of a big meeting on October 7th, and then we may maybe be able to go back to school. And I think people quickly interpreted that as we're going back to school on October 8th.
The plan is being the reopening plan is going to be in our district is going to be presented to our Board of Education on the 8th.
And help us understand. So what does that mean in terms of a plan is being presented? I think some of us interpreted that as okay, and the next day we go back to school, or what happens?
I would say no.
Okay,
it will not be like if a plan's on the 8th and reopening on the 9th. And again, I don't even have all of the logistics of what exactly that plan, because I know especially back in March and April and May, things were changing by the hour.
Okay,
back then. I mean, truly, we had plans, and 2 hours later, things had changed. So I just think as soon as that plan is presented, I think then that's going to be disseminated to families with the specifics of what is it going to look like. Because, and I think you're exactly right. It is, we as humans, I know I do sometimes, we hear what we It's the wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard opening. Yay! There. Whereas, okay, let's
reality.
The reality is, unfortunately, I wish it wasn't, that there's still a health crisis right now. That again, and it's kind of like it, love it, disagree with it, agree with it. It doesn't matter, and that's right now. My feelings on are irrelevant in terms of I'm mandated to follow the certain public health things and stuff like that, and we'll make plans accordingly.
Yeah, and my guess is if a plan is presented to the district and the district considers it, even then, I mean, it could take easily weeks, if not longer, to develop the implementation strategies for whatever that plan is.
Simply because permission has been granted, and that's one of the things that I so appreciate about our district is that very thoughtful, very deliberate, because you've seen I've seen examples in the media, not locally but across the country, where the permission was given, people reopened without necessarily having all of those things in place, the logistics in place. Which gates are they going to come in, and how are you going to do this, and how are you going to do that? And there's tons of things that I am losing sleep over.
Wow.
Over those types that aren't necessarily because you wouldn't. The general public they're not worried about gates and bell schedules and bathroom breaks and those kinds of things, and where
you have to be.
But I have to be.
So, I mean, maybe this is too much, just guesswork at this point. But what do you anticipate to be likely in the coming weeks and months in terms of reopening? I mean, we've seen pictures of classrooms with plexiglass dividers. We've seen, memes about kindergartners trading masks with each other. I mean, so what is your sense? And I know you're just guessing here, but what would you think some of the things are likely to be?
I hesitate to speculate too much because I would, again, as things change, and I don't want to, as you said, I don't want to speculate, and somebody's going to hear it and say, oh, well, that's what's going to happen. But I do know that, I mean, those safety precautions, like we have plexiglass shields in the office, as do fast food restaurants and bank. I mean, everyone has those now. That's just kind of become part of the new normal.
Oh, you said it.
No, sorry. I mean, and the new temporary normal, which is what I prefer. It's like I don't want to be here forever.
Yeah.
But so could that be? It may. I mean, in terms of mask requirements and stuff like that, I would. I'm going to wait and see, kind of along with everybody else, to see what comes from that, because again, we take our guidance from
on high. And then just, I mean, from your vantage point, it probably is a district consideration, but what would we do if there was a surge in COVID again, and a big surge that all of a sudden there's another mandate of closure? What happens then?
I would certainly hope and praying that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If it did, the positive of that is when it happened in March, nobody was ready for that. In terms of we hadn't, nobody even knew what Zoom was in March, right? Now it's like the word of the year.
Yeah.
It probably will be the word of the year. If we had
either that or unprecedented.
I agree. If we would be prepared now, that I mean, again, the last thing, we're trying to make things as consistent as we can for families, because families are in crisis right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and we acknowledge that. I mean, like moms and dads, we know what you're going through right now, and many of those families are our teachers. Our teachers have kids too.
That's right.
Who are elementary school age, and how do you navigate virtual learning when you're also providing the instruction? So families are in crisis. So the last thing that we want to do is jump the gun and do something prematurely, so that we didn't think it through, and then we have to back up. And then you look like, well, we didn't really think this one through. So if we did, I mean, if we opened and had to, at least we have learning management systems. We know how to do virtual instruction now. Again, are we making mistakes? Are we perfect at it? No, because we're still learning. But we're in a much better place now if we had to go there again, because we've done it. We've done it before. So again, my prayer is for healing. Yeah. I mean, I know that you have prayed for that, and when I take my walks, I mean, that's one of the things that I pray for is just for healing, for our healing in so many different levels, and for our land, but actual physical healing for against this virus, and that we could return to normalcy. I mean, like
I think it's fair to say that. We should want that.
Yes,
and I mean, in the best case scenario, we embrace a normalcy that includes all that we've learned over this last year. And so, because we've learned so much, all of us have learned so much.
The number of positives that we are. Every one of my teachers has a classroom website now. Every one of them. Wow. The learning management system. They've all done that. They didn't all have that before. Yeah. They now do. Every one of them knows how to do virtual instruction. Everyone knows how to use Zoom. The things that they have tried, the instructional techniques that they've heard about, but now they've given it a shot.
You know what's scary
and it's
to
worked.
Me is I grew up in the East Coast, and we counted on it. Every year we'd have 6 or 7 snow days. They might not have snow days anymore because now they know how to.
Sorry, students on the East Coast.
Yeah. Hey, as we're beginning to wrap up, you're a principal. You're used to speaking to teachers. You've written this book for teachers. You have the Teaching Tales podcast. Would you take a minute right now and just talk directly to teachers? There's probably a good number of teachers joining us in this conversation, and just give some encouragement to teachers right now about how to people at Alta Murrieta already know your heart, but maybe there's others. Just bring some encouragement to some teachers right now.
Oh, thank you for that opportunity. And I would just say for teachers, and not just those classroom teachers, but support staff. Like we have our instructional aides right now who are also helping run breakout rooms and Zoom rooms, and they're helping build those relationships and things like that. But I would just say you are making a difference. That is, it's easy. I get like emotional thinking about it. It's easy to underestimate the difference that teachers make, that you are making. It's because you think, well, I can't give them the hug. I can't give them the high five, and I'm not able to do everything that I would normally be doing. And you're right. You're not able to be in the classroom, and you only have them for a few hours a day as opposed to 6 or 6.5. But the candy questions, you can still do that. And I know so many teachers out there are doing that, whether it's Flipgrid videos that they're making, and they're doing these things to recognize the efforts and achievements of their kids. But hang in there. I just it's what I'm tasked with right now is to build our teachers up and to remind them you are making more of a difference. That's one of when I wrote and shared the stories is we make more of a difference than we realize. And so often the things that if you asked your teacher, John, what do you think John remembered of your class, he probably wouldn't have said the candy questions. So for teachers watching out there right now, what you're doing matters. The smile on your face matters. The great job, Billy. Billy, is that a new shirt?
Wow.
I like that. That the little things matter, and they matter now more than ever.
Wow.
So I would just say, hang in there. This too shall pass.
Please, Lord.
Please, Lord. This too shall pass. But they're making a difference more than they realize.
Wow, those are good words. If you have just joined in at the end here, I've been sitting for our CB table conversation today with Brent Coley, who's the principal at Alta Murrieta Elementary School, and he's written this book called Edu Influence, 10 Life-Changing Powers to Unleash in Your School. It's a great book. You can go to Brent Coley, .com. We'll put that in the comments, maybe BrentColey.com. But you can follow his podcast there as well. It's called Teaching Tales. Brent has a passion to just help teachers know how valuable they are and to keep stepping it up in every way possible and making it better for the sake of a generation coming up behind us. So, Brent, thank you so much for taking time today to step out of Alta Murrieta and come sit down with me here.
I
appreciate you being a part of the body of Christ at Centerpoint and taking some time to speak into all of our lives today. Appreciate that.
Well, if I could, I want to thank you for what you're doing and do on a daily basis. Again, you have had to lead our church through unprecedented, there's that word, through unprecedented times whether it was strictly virtual, now move into some outdoor services, and just know that I've got on staff who go here too, and they feel the same way, that your leadership, your guidance, your shepherding of us is, you don't hear it as, leaders don't hear it enough. So I will tell you right now, thank you for what you're doing. You are a blessing.
Thank you.
So,
thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today for the CP Table. Hope you have a great day. If you have a question, you can leave it in the comments and we'll try and get back to you on it. Thanks.